Hi and welcome.
The Faxon blog and podcast.
All right, welcome in, Gun Talk Nation fans. I am stealing the show today from Mr. Ryan Gresham. He does not get a choice in this because I am at Faxon Firearms with Emily and Dustin.
Hey there.
You can talk.
I don't even remember who Ryan Gresham is. Ryan who?
Well, he's the guy with the really cool hair.
Oh, that guy? Yeah, we don't.
I got my eye on you.
Yeah. Well, Dustin has really nice hair too.
We just really replaced Gresham today, guys. So
but just a larger, more poorly aged version.
It's just a 1-for-1 hair swap.
Yeah,
basically.
that's all it is.
But we're here at Faxon. We're touring the facilities. We're looking at all the cool stuff you guys got. Give a little background on Faxon because I think a lot of the folks out there, they understand that Faxon does something within the firearms industry,
right?
And they may only have a little sliver of the pie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so many people have our stuff or have heard of us, but don't know the full story.
Right.
And I've actually only been here about 5 months, so I'm pretty new here. But Dustin, he's the pro, so I'll let him give a little background.
Yeah, I mean, so the main thing to remember about Faxon Firearms is it didn't start as just Faxon Firearms.
Right.
Bob and Barry Faxon, brothers, who still own and operate Faxon Firearms today, originally started in the machining business. And we talk about that and some of our materials and some of our video and podcasts and such. But they started back in the late 70s with Faxon Machining, which is still up and running, does a lot of Department of Defense work. We shared facility space with them up until last year when we moved into this building, which you guys toured today. So they're just a few miles south of us in a suburb called Forest Park. But when they started, it was originally Bob and Barry's older brother, David, who started the business, and his family kind of went in, mom and dad and brother, and bought a little 5,000 square foot shop in Northside Cincinnati, predominantly automotive at the very beginning, and then moved to complete machining within about a year or so. So they did a lot of automotive work, oil and gas, things like that. They moved into aerospace. They do a touch of medical now. They do Department of Defense work now. And then as Faxon Firearms began to grow, we're actually about to come up on our 10-year anniversary of Faxon Firearms being a legitimate brand and identity. So they came to market first with the ARAC 21, which you guys shot some footage on today. And then from there birthed barrels and pistol parts and accessories and 1022 line, which we have some stuff on the table here today.
That's for the guys that when you start looking at this and you start looking at upgrades, I think that's what a lot of guys are starting to gravitate towards, especially like these new firearm owners. And you and I kind of talked about that today. Yeah. Is that like these new firearm owners, they're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. They're not going anywhere. Now, what's the next step in it? It's making it theirs. And I think that's one thing that a lot of folks know about Faxon is they have the ability to kind of make it their own, whether it's a Glock, a Smith & Wesson, a SIG. You guys give these guys opportunities to make it that.
Right.
People are into the Gucci Glocks right now. So, I
already tried that.
Yeah. And the whole thing is there are some people who, whether it's us or somebody else in the market, they do like to come at it, whether it's like an aesthetic upgrade or it's a performance upgrade. And I think we marry those two things together quite well. Something that both Bob and Barry talk about a lot is the Fellowship of Firearms, which is something we believe in here, that there's a communal aspect to it. There's memories that are made with it, whether it's your first time hunting or your first time, mom or dad taking you to the range, or like we've talked with Emily a few weeks ago on the show about her past and cowboy action shooting, whatever that is.
And shotgunning.
Shotgunning, everything.
Yeah, and everybody kind of has their own route to it. But alongside of that is the high value proposition that I think that we give. Like, yes, you might see an aesthetic upgrade too. That's fantastic, and we're glad you like that. But you're also going to see a performance upgrade. Right. These things aren't just pretty for the sake of being pretty. Yeah. There's a functional reason behind them. Even some of the barrels we have on the table right now, the gold and the chameleon coated barrels, those are a 10 PVD process. Right. It's a tool coating. It enhances lubricity. It keeps surface wear down. It enhances the life of the barrel.
Right.
So and it's pretty.
Well, I know, form and function. And now what's really cool about this is, and we were talking about the chameleon. Yeah. If so, our listeners out there, so if you're not visually listening or viewing this podcast, it's hard to explain this. It's kind of a beautiful mixture of purples and a little bit of yellow and
like
greens.
A rainbow.
And it's like a coating that you guys put on it that doesn't fully form it to its color. So all of them are different, is what
all of them. Yeah. Yeah. Even if they're in the same batch. They're going to be different barrel to barrel. So the Chameleon PVD still has this same kind of structural integrity and the lubricity and the surface hardness that the Golden 10 PVD does, but they kind of do like a high-tech fault in the system, where they kind of stop it before the color sets. So all of the performance pieces are in place, all that microstructure is in place, but before the color fully sets, they kind of do I like to call it like a high-tech fault, because there is a little more to it than just unplugging the machine and going, hey, these are done.
There it is.
But because of that, you get all these crazy different colors. So especially on our flame fluted barrels, you see it a lot. Whenever that kind of plane depth changes, you might see some of the colors change, and that's something that we do pretty much on every single pistol barrel. That's an option. We have it on our 1022 barrels that then select limited run rifle barrels and bolt carrier.
Well, I don't think I've seen two that are exactly the same.
No, you probably won't. Yeah.
You won't.
No, they're pretty different.
Yeah, even if they're in the same batch, they're going to be different.
And I think that goes along to kind of making it your own. And I think firearm owners, especially the new guys, that's just a key point for them, is that, how do I make this my own? And it's because we all know the G19 and G17 are pretty standard, and they're pretty, I'm not dogging them, but they're pretty bland.
They're functional. I mean, they do a job. They're, each piece of it is on there to do a specific function. Nothing's really on there like for aesthetic appeal.
Well, and going back to Dustin's point is that you're not only getting the look, like you're getting function and performance.
Absolutely.
And that's something with all of our barrels. We're one of only a handful of manufacturers that make our barrels completely from raw bar stock. So when this stuff comes to us, it is just bars of steel. So all the profiling, the milling, the drilling, the reaming, the rifling, mag particle inspection, the stress relieving in the ovens, all that happens here. The only thing we send out for is coatings for the most part. So when you see one of our barrels, it's either going to be made out of 416R stainless or 4150 chromoly vanadium, depending on what barrel series you're in. 416 is reserved for match series and 1022, and then the 4150 is for our duty series line of barrels, both pistol and rifle.
So we've really hit hard on kind of the upgrades and the accessory upgrades and stuff like that. Your barrels and all that good stuff, but it didn't start there.
No.
It started originally with the ARAC 21.
Yeah. So when the machining company, they were successful for such a long time, and they were in the automotive industry predominantly. And that industry, as Bob says, every wave hits a beach. And so there was kind of a flux, and they're like, okay, well, what's next? And they wanted to be able to have something that was a true product, not just being a job shop and not just being a machine shop. And so one day when they decided that they were going to kind of go into the firearms industry full bore, Bob went out to SHOT Show, was doing a little recon. That was probably 11 or 12 years ago. And initially they thought they were just going to make ARs like everybody.
Right. Well, that's kind of what you do. I mean,
dipping your toes in kind of thing. Yeah.
But then he gets out there and realizes this is a pretty saturated market, and there's some really high quality stuff out there, really cool stuff. There's a lot, we're not one of the companies that says, oh, this company stinks and we're better than them. That's not how we do things.
Well, there's a lot of companies out there that are so well established, and they've ingrained themselves.
Big names. A lot of big names.
And so it's hard to overcome
Right.
that obstacle alone.
Yeah, especially right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bob comes home from SHOT Show feeling a little deflated and tells Barry that maybe they need to take a break. He's sitting around at home watching Discovery Channel or something like that, and they were doing a poll, top 10 battle rifles of all time, and it came down to the AK and the AR-15, and the AK won out for number one and the AR number two. And Bob and Barry being proud Americans, and they were just like, we don't want to create the second best of anything,
right?
And so Bob had a pretty good understanding of both platforms. So that night, with his sons with him at the kitchen counter, drew up on 3 pieces of paper the first draft of the ARAC 21. And so,
do we still have the 3 pieces of paper? Do we still have?
I wish we had them framed.
Amazing. To still have that.
It's pretty wild. And so that started as just a complete upper. They didn't have the lowers. It'll drop on any mil spec lower, AR lower. The big things that they wanted to do was kind of combine the best of both worlds, AR and AK. And so that's exactly what they did, and then put some features on there that they just think would be preferential to folks. So, non-reciprocating forward charging handle, all sorts of ambidextrous options. You could swap from 7.62 to 5.56.
All 300 blackout,
and there's also a 300 blackout conversion that came along a little later. And most people do know us for our barrels, but that started because of the ARAC.
Right.
Like, you're prototyping a new gun. I mean, how are you supposed to get all these prototype barrels to fit in it, right?
Yeah.
And so then that started the barrel line, and then they saw a place in the market for aftermarket barrels,
right?
And then it just kind of took off from there. And so from that point, you start doing, okay, well, we'll make handguards and we'll make bolt carrier groups and we'll do all this sort of stuff. And then the next phase was then let's put it together into our own set of rifles. And in the case of handguns, we were making the pistol barrels for G19. We were making slides for G19. So we partnered with Polymer 80 to make a frame for us, and then we made our FX19 platform. So all of these things come together.
I was gonna say, you got to check all these out today.
We got to check all of them out, and we've got to shoot all of them. But I think the FX19 is it's beautifully constructed, but man, it almost feels like it's a race gun. Like, I really feel like it's that way, but I think
the Hellfire, especially, it's definitely a little more tricked out to be that race
the Patriots,
gun.
more of the carry,
compact.
If you like that subcompact type carry, it's our take on a G19. And like Emily mentioned, there's a piece of it that's like people like the Gucci Glock or the custom Glock thing, but same thing. We really try to hit that value proposition. You could not build your own tricked out G19 with all the upgrades that we put in the FX19 without paying more than what you would have paid for just buying an FX19. So things like a DLC coated slide, things like one of our match series barrels, the custom frame from Polymer 80. And then we partner with Overwatch Precision for the trigger and Night Vision for the Hellfire sights, Steel City Arsenal for the Patriot sights. And so it's just, you get same thing, just like the rifle line. If you like our rifle barrels and you like our handguards and you like our bolt carrier groups all by themselves, then put them together into a complete gun, and you've gotten yourself a bit of a package deal.
And that's what's cool about being here is you see a lot of the guns we're making, each like little piece of it is not just thrown on there or something that we were just, we needed a trigger, so we got these because they were cheap and easy. I mean, each piece of this, the team here at Faxon really thought about each piece of what we're putting into our full firearms. And I think especially after just years of making those pieces ourselves, especially with the barrels, it's like, we want quality triggers, quality barrels, and anything we can't get, we're making. So it's really awesome to see.
So like I mentioned with the FX19, Polymer 80 did the frame design with us, but, we're not a Swiss machine shop, so small parts, triggers, springs, things like that. But, when it comes to the slide, when it comes to the barrel, all those types of things, plus bolt carrier groups, because that's a huge part of our business. Even above and beyond full firearms, as far as what comes in as raw stock and leaves at the door as a finished product, it's a lot of bolt carrier groups, lots of barrels, lots of parts and accessories. Yeah. And so, like you said, with the pistol market, Although people who are AR guys, we like to think that ARs dominate the platform, dominate the market, and really handguns dominate the market most of the time if you look at sales numbers. And especially for new gun owners this last year, 2 years, a lot of first-time gun buyers buying handguns. They're not going straight to the shop and their first gun is an ARAC.
Oh,
right?
no, that's not good. You're not going to get that. But but hopefully our goal is to educate them enough and they get enough passion behind it to start going, well, there's got to be more than this.
Right.
And with that, I'm going to jump in here with a word from our sponsors, and we're going to get into that. And we're going to get into, we're going to play Guess the Cowboy Action Shooter and Guess the Singer.
Oh my goodness.
Guess the previous vacation.
Yeah, guess our previous lives. Okay.
All right. We're going to take a word from our sponsors right now. Okay, so we're back. All right. We're going to get into a little bit of your backgrounds because I think we've had Emily on the show before, but we don't really know Dustin.
No.
Stranger in the night.
We're going to, maybe that's a good thing.
Well, it's about to change.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's get it. Emily, let's start with you. We've had you on before.
Yes.
And we primarily Ryan talked to you about, because I'm taking over the show. I'm KJ.
Take it over.
We're at Faxon Firearms, talking to Emily and Dustin. And we're going to start with Emily and her background. We primarily talked to you mostly about like your cowboy action background.
Yes.
So give us a little, and you've actually been in some competitions here lately, and you won the New York State Championship, right?
I won the Northeast Regional Championship.
The Northeast.
Yeah, more than just
so
a state.
Humble brag, but
Hashtag humble brag.
no, I have like I've got a fun, interesting story. I started cowboy shooting when I was like 10. And
What's your name?
Okay, so my cowboy name is Snazzy McGee.
There you go.
You have to have a cowboy name.
Do you have to talk like a cowgirl?
No, you don't have to talk like a cowgirl.
Do you?
But when you start a stage, I do not. But when you start a stage, you have to give like a line or something. So normally that's kind of like a cowboy line.
Okay, so what's your line?
Valhalla.
Well, it's always different. Like each day, like somebody writes the stage and they tell you what to say.
Okay.
So
give me an example.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Like thinking off the top of my head, my mom writes stages. We need my mom here.
Oh, really? What would she write for you? Okay. Let me set the stage for you.
Set the stage.
Okay. You're breaking through the door.
Yeah.
And you're gonna shoot 2 shotgun blast.
So like breaking through a door, you could be like, stick them up. Like that could be like a good starting line.
So you're a bad guy. Girl.
Yeah, sure, maybe. I don't wear a black hat though. That's the big thing.
You're robbing the place.
I could be.
So give me the stick 'em up in the cowboy verbiage.
Just stick them up. I don't say it weird.
Like,
You're trying to create a character, KJ.
Hang him high, cowpoke.
Yeah, see, he's the character.
Yeah. See, Dustin could do it.
I'm enough character in real life. I don't need that.
How would Snazzy McGee in 1845 say this?
Guys, let's shoot. That's what it is.
I would say something really basic. I'm a basic girl from Connecticut. I don't know what you want. I'm not a cow. Like I'm a cowgirl, but I'm not. It's like.
Well, apparently we're not getting that. So
I'm sorry. I'm not going to give it.
Snazzy.
I'm not going to give it to you. Right. Like, listen. We say we're normal people. We just dress up and we shoot cowboy guns.
But if you're going to dress up, like you got to go full. You got to go full cowgirl. Like I'm sorry, but if you're shooting cowboy action. And you're going to back it up with an outfit, a cowboy hat, some spurs, some chaps.
How'd you know I have chaps, KJ?
Well, I've seen you shoot.
I do have chaps. I have the whole outfit. But literally, that's like why I started shooting is because I wanted, my parents were like, you're going to start shooting if you want. And I was like, do I get to be in front of people? And they were like, yes. And I was like, sweet, done. And here I am now on video all the time. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But no, I started doing that. And I won my category in nationals when I was 16. And my mom was like, okay, like figure something out to pay for college. Because obviously you like shooting. So like figure it out. So I got into clay target shooting and started doing that. Got recruited to one of the top shotgun programs in the country, Lindenwood.
I would probably say the top.
The top at its heyday when I was there, it was the top shotgun program that you wanted to be in the country.
Multi-national champions.
I think like 15 national championships. Yeah. I mean, it was like the Yukon women's basketball of the shotgun world. And I got started there, shot there for 4 years, 4 national championships, loved it. And I think I was an English art history major. I never thought about getting in this industry. I was going to be an English professor. I was going to be an English professor. I was going to teach class.
It would put her in front of people.
I was going to read Shakespeare. Exactly. I was going to be in front of I was like, my stage would be the front of the classroom.
Dr. Snazzy McGee.
Dr. Snaz, yeah. But that was my goal. I was like, I'm going to do that. But then I was like, well, I should probably go to grad school because, English and art history degrees don't really get you anywhere. So I went to grad school and I found a program at Georgia Southern University where I could teach pistol classes and they'd pay for my school. So I got a free master's in public administration, and which I was also not going to do anything with. Because then by that point,
who else at this table has a master's in public administration?
Do you really?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, I have known KJ since my day one in this industry, and I've never known that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we learned something today.
Too.
KJ was my first friend in this industry, guys.
I was.
I just hope we met at SHOT Show 2020, right before the world ended.
Yeah, and now we're here.
And now we're here. No, but seriously, I think at that point I was like, all right, I'm stuck in this industry now. I'm like, I'm here. I love it. Not stuck, but like I was like, I'm addicted. I drank the Kool-Aid. I love it. I'm here. So I started at American Outdoor Brands, and that's how I met you. I was with Caldwell and Crimson Trace and all those awesome brands over there. And then I just, it was like I never wanted to be in any other industry. So
and that's it. Like you never want to go anywhere.
No. Once you're in, you don't want to go anywhere else.
No. I've only known a handful of people that have actually left the industry only to find out like in a few years they're back.
Oh yeah. I've talked to a lot I've talked to a lot of people that maybe like I've talked to people that were like school teachers and stuff, and they got into this industry later in life, and then they were like, what was I doing?
Yeah. What was I doing with my life?
So
poor life decisions.
This is the industry I was meant to be in.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love the people I get to hang out with. And, we get to watch guns getting built every day, just like 10 feet away from our desks. I mean, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's a very pro 2A building here.
Yeah,
100%.
It's very, well, I mean, I hope so. We're building guns every day.
Yeah. Well, so Dustin, what about you? So we teased it with you're a singer.
Yeah.
But apparently you retired.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dusty Wallace.
I started as a musician in my professional life. Mm-hmm. So originally went to school to be a vocal music teacher. And but I've always
loved
teachers
here.
Yeah.
I know. Well, we were gonna be teachers. We obviously didn't work out for us.
So the way it went down for me was like I always loved music. My biological parents were quite a bit older than me, so I had their record collections, and so most kids in the late 80s, early 90s are growing up listening to pop bands and New Kids on the Block or whatever was.
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. And then I'll believe you for a second. And then but I also got like a fair dosage of like original Elvis records and old country records.
Dustin's an old soul.
And
that's good.
Old soul.
His hair matches.
Yeah, that's just bad genetics. And then and then I was always interested in radio. So I originally like would intern at radio stations and do that kind of stuff. And then quickly realized that was a rough market to get into, especially at that time. I think radio and like as we're doing right now, long form podcasting and stuff has really brought that back. But when you're thinking early 2000s, the iPod had like just came out. iTunes was just new. So that platform was still faltering a little bit. And so I was always involved in music. And so I decided I wanted to be a musician and a teacher. So I did drama and theater and choir and band and all that kind of stuff.
At this point, we're going to throw up a picture of Dusty Wallace's album covers.
Listen, I used to be
please put it on the screen right now, Michael.
Way thinner and more attractive. But so and the way that I did that was gigging. Also, like I would DJ on the side. Everything when you're a struggling artist, it's all about supplementing income. And then I was like a worship director for a couple of different churches. I got my private school teaching license, so I taught vocal music and drama at a private school for a little while. And but my wife is a real music teacher, like master's degree, specializes in curriculum and assessment, does speaks at conferences. It's like, okay, she's the rock star at this. I'm not going to do it.
We clearly have a path.
Yeah. And so like, but I did get to do some fun stuff. I got to record in Nashville. I would sit in with other bands, do session work. I would, travel and do gigs and it was fun for a time. But my main thing is, I love being a dad and a husband more than anything else. Yeah. And once my daughter was born and I was looking at the hours I was keeping, and, I'd be at the school or the church all week, and then I'd have gigs on the weekends and traveling. And I remember I was driving home. I had a gig on the night before I left for this show in Canada. I had to sit in with a band for 3 shows in Ontario. And I drove from Columbus to Ontario.
Oh my gosh.
Did a 3-day residency, 2 shows a day. Drove back, had another show that next day back in Columbus, sitting in with an orchestra. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore.
Not do both.
Not do both. I can't be the dad I want to be and the husband I want to be and do this. But with those things, whether it was working for the churches or doing radio commercials or whatever, podcasting, I did a fair bit of that too early on. Everything that I did was about communication.
Right.
And what I feel that I can do is help distill dreams and visions into palatable, lookable, physical things.
Right.
And so, so I went for a little while, worked in IT and higher education, did some stuff like that, still gigged and such. But when my wife is from Cincinnati originally, and we wanted to get down here to be with her family, and we wanted our daughter to grow up here, but finding a job for me and her at the same time and moving was kind of tough. And so when the job opened up here at Faxon, what drove me to it was one, I love this city.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cincinnati is just a fantastic place.
For anyone out there that thinks Cincinnati's boring,
yeah,
you're wrong. You gotta come here.
It's fantastic. And also too, like I really resonate with the family here. Bob and Barry are real people and they are real American dream people. The stuff that you see here that you've seen from us, if you've been following Faxon from the early days, like this isn't like trust fund baby stuff,
right?
Man. Like these guys, like when we redid this building, like Barry's out here on a stinking forklift, knocking walls down. Yeah. I mean, it is bananas, but these are just like real people who also love their families, who also love what they do. And what I feel, I excel at here is being able to listen to them, talk to them, interact with them, and help, bring their vision of the brand to fruition. Yeah. And so when we brought Emily on staff, my goal with her was like, listen, like you're going to get the keys to social and you're going to get the keys to working with influencers and all this sort of stuff. My job with you is just keeping this vision.
Right.
And there's things that she excels at that I don't, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah.
And we're still a smaller-ish company.
People don't realize that. Yeah.
It does not look like it. You come to this building and it's like, oh my gosh, this is massive.
We're about 80 staff members, including shop and
for what
and
you guys
office.
Are producing.
Yeah,
you guys are like,
yeah,
we're working hard over here.
Yeah, and it's predominantly.
You can't see it. It's off camera, but we have bunks over here that we live on.
Yeah, apparently, it does have that feel to it.
We don't have a home. We live here.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and so with that said, we were able to reach a lot of people with what we do, and so being a smaller company. There are multiple hats, this, what you're seeing right here. This is a big project of mine, redoing all the pistol packaging. And so it's not just the podcast and going to shows and setting up trade show booths and doing all that and posting on social.
Everything.
It's everything. Product photos, helping with product development when they're ready for us, packaging, presentation, all that kind of stuff, as well as, managing the website and partnerships and everything. So there's a lot that goes on.
You wear a lot of hats.
We
between just the two of us, I mean, we're the market. You're looking at the marketing department right now. So.
I got all of them in here in this ginormous building. So we're gonna take a listen to a couple of our sponsors right now, and we have a special Faxon takeover. They're gonna take over the Gun Talk Nation podcast right after these messages. All right, hey, we're back, and I'm going to basically, KJ is taking over Ryan, and now the Faxon marketing team, I'm out. Like, these guys are going to take it over, and we're going to let them they're running the show now. So take it away.
It's our show now.
Yeah. All right. So for us, this is episode 59 of the Faxon blog and podcast. This is something that Emily and I do pretty much bi-weekly right now. This is the second year of the show. We're in our second season. So generally I open the show and Emily introduces our guest. So we're going to switch roles here and have Emily introduce KJ.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Gun Talk Nation, I know you guys know who KJ is, but for some of our listeners, this is our lovely friend KJ from Gun Talk Media.
Usually I have a flat brim
Usually,
on.
yeah, you may know him a little more. We got to like Photoshop that in, like a flat brim on you. I was shocked too when you showed up without a flat brim this morning.
Well,
is it because you're replacing Gresham?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
I knew I was replacing Gresham on the show.
Yeah.
So I really had to kind of like do my hair. Like I don't normally do that. Like most people don't know what I look like.
Normally Gresham and his beautiful hair is here, but he sent KJ in his stead because he's hunting pheasants right now. Lame. Just a shout out.
That is.
But KJ was the first person I met in this industry, basically outside of my company,
which is crazy to think because of your vibrant personality. Like I do not understand how that's possible.
It was my first SHOT Show. You were my first friend there. We met like day one.
That still blows me away that I can't be your number one on that. Like that's impossible.
You and Gary and Gresham were like my first, like you Gun Talk guys from my first little crew. And when I came to Faxon, I was like, we gotta get Gun Talk out here. You know, so these guys have their Gun Talk Nation podcast. They've got Guns and Gear on the Sportsman channel. You've got all sorts of different digital media. You've got your Gun Talk Radio. I mean, like, what do you guys not do?
Gun Talk Radio, 27 years, going on 27 years. The Gun Talk Hunt podcast, which is that's kind of my show, my direction. And then First Person Defender, which is really cool. And if you got to see it last night, we're going to have to show Dustin. We actually did a short film for First Person Defender.
Which by the time this podcast is on, it will be out and you guys need to see it.
I mean, it's a Halloween special edition.
It's awesome.
But it is amazing.
But yeah, so Gun Talk does a lot of different things in this industry, a lot of different media. And you guys get to go to a lot of different firearms companies. And when I came here, I was like, we got to get Gun Talk out here to come visit the Faxon facility. But one thing I love that Gun Talk and Faxon kind of have in common is, you know, we were talking about being family businesses. I mean, Gun Talk's like it got its start as kind of a family business. So like, why don't you tell us a little bit about Gun Talk?
Gun Talk is entirely family, family focused, family generated. Grits Gresham was kind of the OG,
very OG. I mean,
and that's Ryan's grandfather. Ryan runs the company now, and he kind of started Gun Talk back in. I mean, he was running the Sportsman's or on when they actually used to have hunting shows. Wow. On mainstream television,
like
Grits was
TV.
it.
Yeah, on ESPN. Grits was on ESPN. Yeah.
And then, and I remember watching him growing up, and like he was kind of a mentor of mine, just watching him on TV, and that's who you aspire to. He's hunting with Bing Crosby, you know. I mean, he's hunting with all these celebrities. Yeah, and it's just Terry Bradshaw. Like he was hunting, like fishing, and it's absolutely amazing what they got away with on national television.
Culture's changed.
Culture's changed a little bit.
Could you imagine like on ESPN, like a hunting show?
Yeah. Well, and I think he had, because we had Ryan on last season.
Yes.
We did a remote interview with Ryan. And I think he had mentioned like he had endorsements from like beer companies and I mean, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I mean, just stuff that you really don't see today.
You couldn't get away with.
I was gonna say, when I talked to my dad about the Greshams, he was like, "Oh yeah, Grits Gresham. He was on that beer commercial." That's what my dad remembered.
That beer commercial.
That beer commercial. Yeah.
I mean, it was fascinating, and you know, he really did spur, you know, Tom into getting this, because Tom just went everywhere with him. Tom was a writer and a photographer.
And Tom is Ryan's dad.
Yes, Tom is Ryan's dad, and they kind of started the name Gun Talk at, you know, when Ryan joined in. I think it's like 2004, 2005. But Gun Talk Radio had already been on the air quite a while before that. Yeah. Like I said, they're in their 27th year on Gun Talk Radio, which is amazing. And now it's a 4-hour show each week. Like, how do you do that over 27 years running a 4-hour
and still being so successful.
They're syndicated,
right? They're syndicated all over. So you guys have heard them, and really, you know, and again, like Tom's one of my heroes in the industry, like, and I get to work alongside him, which is like gives me goosebumps to these days. But he is one of the biggest advocates we have in this industry as far as like maintaining your Second Amendment rights. And he is a fighter. And I've never known, Tom does not back down from a gunfight. Like, this dude knows how to spin his words, and like,
I think it's a Gresham trait. I think they have that in their genetics.
Yeah. Oh, they're naturally tuned in.
They were born just selling stuff and protecting our rights.
And that's what's cool about it
is
to sit there and watch Tom be able to, voice what is right over the radio waves.
Absolutely.
And to do it for 27 years is absolutely amazing. And when Ryan like started up with Tom, it was phenomenal to see how those two married this Gun Talk radio show into now over these different platforms. And, our social media is outstanding. We do a lot of branded content around the industry. We work with hundreds of companies out there.
Lots of big brands. Yeah.
And just to see how it's all come together, and it really is a family focused, community within our small company. I think we've got like, only 8 employees, but we do so much. Like,
it's similar to Faxon. You don't realize
it really is.
You don't realize that. You know?
You walk in the doors and like you naturally feel at home here, and that's one thing that walking through the doors, because this is the first time I've been here.
Yeah,
it won't be the last, because this is a phenomenal place.
Good.
But it's a beautiful facility that you guys got going on here, and it is. I mean, it's a lot like there's a lot of like similarities between Faxon and Gun Talk, because it is family focused.
Yeah.
Family started, family focused.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. And you mentioned the staff sizing. And I mean, granted, there is some stuff, where it's like everybody's dealing with labor shortages and supply chain shortages. But I think one thing that Gun Talk is doing, and that the Faxons do for all their businesses, is, they want A players.
Yep.
I think you're able to put out the amount and quality and things like that, not by burning people out, but by finding the right people, to take part of it. And it's generational for the Greshams, right?
It is.
I mean, Gun Talk might as well be their surname. Having the people that are going to represent it in the correct light. And that's something too that, I think is a benefit for us here at Faxon. Some people might see it as like, oh, well, it's a family name. It's like, yeah, well, once upon a time, so Smith & Wesson, and so, all those sorts of things. But, we have that to kind of shine a light through. We get to work off of, these two brothers' crazy vision. It's a bananas thing, and we feel really fortunate to have it. And like you said, as far as and something we mentioned on the podcast, because it is a message I want to propagate, is sometimes people don't realize what goes into the media and marketing side of the firearms industry.
Absolutely. There's a lot of tricky parts of that.
It's so tricky, because there are things that you can and can't do as any company related to firearms.
Right.
We can't pay for Google ads. We can't pay for social media ads. You can't do Facebook shopping. You can't do those sorts of things that a lot of other companies base their whole entire business plan around. Yeah. So when we do stuff like this, whether it's you coming to us or us coming to you or us doing giveaways with, all these different companies across the spectrum, that is our marketing. Yeah. We have to partner with like-minded people and like-minded individuals, and you are getting suppressed on social media.
Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah.
And Emily and I were running numbers last week, looking at last year's numbers versus this year's numbers. And even though our audience is bigger, you could literally watch the shadow banning, on the graph.
Yeah.
So first of all, I say for all listeners and watchers of both Gun Talk and the Faxon Blogging podcast, please continue to like, share, and subscribe, because that's,
that's what keeps us going. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't get the same benefit of the doubt when it comes to algorithms as some of your other favorite companies.
Well, I think a lot of it is engagement, because you guys are a lot like us. We do a lot with, our comment section and stuff like that. We interact with these folks.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of the algorithm, is just engaging and asking questions, because I have never known, Gun Talk or Faxon to back down from comments or criticisms. And that's one thing that you guys are open to change. And we try to craft our end product and our deliverables to the people who take in our content,
right?
Or that shoot the firearms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is a whole big thing. But to jump a little bit about part of why you guys came down here today, this also marries well with a little trip you guys are taking after you're done here, headed up north to my old stomping grounds. Yeah. So you guys are headed up to NASGW. You know, what type of stuff are you guys going to be collecting and doing there?
We're just
what
there to look good. Right, and Ryan's not here.
So
I'm not Ryan. You look beautiful, but no, we're really going up there to have a media presence, and to give folks like that are watching and viewing our podcast and our lives a look at what's coming down the pipe. You know, because this is
our first show in a while.
This is our first trade show in like a year and a half.
NASGW, for those of you listening, is it
National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers?
Yes.
Yeah.
So really,
pretty niche.
Yeah,
it's pretty niche. But like, there's a lot of people going because, like you said, it's our first show.
Right.
And so long.
Yeah, keeps getting canceled.
Yeah. I mean, NRA got canceled, and then I moved back to Houston. But we really want it. Man, we just want to get together. We just
there's
want
people we want to see.
Yeah. We've got to come up here and see you guys, and we don't get that a lot anymore because, companies start pulling out because they're like, oh, we don't want to take the risk, but this is where business happens at these shows, and this is where relationships are built and maintained. And we want to do that, and we're going to be, going live all week, and hopefully you guys are able to go over there and watch. And
I'll be there. I'll be there for sure.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
We can go live, KJ.
Yeah, Emily and some of the sales staff is going to be up at the show this week as well.
And in NSGW, it's unlike SHOT Show and NRA, whereas NRA is more of a consumer base. You're getting a lot of end users that are out there. NSGW really is based on sales, and it's really insider. But us media types that actually get the opportunity to get to shed, it's almost like a peek in through the back window. Yeah. And that's what we're there for, and hopefully we're able to do.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think people are just interested in the ins and outs, of some of the things that, like, sometimes, a job's a job is a job. And so there are days that work is tough and you're like, oh man.
Never. Our jobs are never tough. Don't you put that juju on me.
Says the man who pointed a gun at a centipede today. Okay.
That thing was dangerous.
But at the end of the day, there's still people who are so interested in the products that what might seem pretty routine to us, going to a dealer show or whatever, is actually, unique and interesting, to people. Just like when we show footage from the shop of like, hey man, like you see this big pile of steel, that's what your barrel started as. It's just those little sneaks behind the curtain that, I think allows people to get a better insight and also better depth of view. This isn't, and when it comes to firearms, and I know there's other industries that are similar, but especially with firearms, there's a lot that goes into it, whether it's the manufacturing and the testing, but also how to get it to market. And you have all these regulations and all this paperwork and all this staffing and all this stuff that needs to happen. It's not the same as, stocking shelves at a grocery store. It's just not the same animal. And especially in these last couple of years where the gun run has been so huge with record sales, I think more people are kind of tuning into it and are curious about, what really goes into making the gun that I want to buy or the parts that I want to buy. And also I think to having an affinity for certain brands, there are so many great brands on the market. Which one, after you get all the safety and the performance down, which do you identify with? Like, who are you proud to represent?
Who do you start aligning with?
Yeah.
The same could be said with social media, because there's guys out there that, Iraq vet 8888888. Is their guy? That's who they identify with, and some of it's demo ranch guys, and you got to always look at it this way, and from media's perspective, from company's perspective, like 8.5 roughly million new gun owners, so you could get them once. Once you get one shot to make an impression, and we try to go in with that expectation of, because we're not only talking to these new gun owners, we've got seasoned guys too, and how do you blend that?
Right.
Like,
absolutely, because they're two very different groups of people. Yeah.
Like the one side's looking at your video going, why are you making a video over how to load a mag?
So dumb.
This is so stupid. Come on.
And then the other side feels dumb for asking how to do that.
So, but they're watching the video.
Exactly.
And there's no shame in that. Like there's stuff that I don't know, like that I need to learn.
Yeah. I've mentioned this on on our podcast before, but like the minute I'm like, I've learned everything, I know everything, that's like, I need to leave. Yeah. Like in this industry, in the gun industry, I mean, just being a gun owner, you should never feel like you're done.
Right.
Never feel like you're done learning. Never feel like you're 100%. I got everything.
Because you don't.
There's always a new gun. There's always sometimes, you haven't picked up a certain gun in a while and you're like, where's that button again? I mean, it happens to all of us.
So have you guys have seen all those videos of people doing like rudimentary task and just doing them a little bit different and it makes it easier or something? Like you've seen those. It's just the same way. Maybe someone has a different way to load a mag than you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you can, okay, that's a cool little trick.
Yeah.
Like that, the guy who lights the candle, like he lights one, like if there's a 3-wick candle and he lights one and then he just turns upside down and wait till the other wick gets hot.
I haven't seen that. Wow.
Life hacks.
Life hacks. Yeah.
It's like little stuff like that you're like, huh. Okay.
God, the internet's crazy.
You crazy place.
Anything.
It's wild. Yeah, and I mean that's something too. We want to. I think all of us, especially any firearms brand, whether they're media or like us, that's marketing and media for a company, you need to be able to welcome these people in and give them the stuff that they need. And, because some stuff is going to make sense coming from Faxon and other manufacturers. And some stuff is going to make more sense coming from people like Gun Talk and people like influencers, sometimes I feel like, and part of how we do this podcast is we don't just do QVC. We're not just like, hey, check out our new product. I mean, we'll talk about stuff when it's new, but we also just want to give people a peek inside what we do, what other people in the industry do. Yeah. Because if we forever tell you, hey, here's the best, rifle barrels. Yeah. Wonder who's going to win.
They're going to look at you sideways. There you go.
Right. And that's
it's our job to tell you guys we have the best barrels. Right. Like why would we sit here and do that? I mean, we're just going to show it.
So there's a bit of an arm, in that whole group, for everybody. And that's why, influencers have a role. That's why, sponsored shooters have a role. That's why people like Gun Talk have a role, because people need these multiple outlets to go to.
The industry is a complex ecosystem.
It is.
Ogres are like layers.
But I will tell you, there's quite a bit of media out there, and I'll probably get myself in trouble for this one, but I'm going to go ahead and say
Here we go. It's happening. Spicy take.
And here we go. There was a contention between like your traditional media types, your written words, your, whether it's Field and Stream or Guns and Ammo, stuff like that. And there was a transition where it was like, okay, how do we handle influencers? Like, how do we handle these guys coming in? Because they provide something that traditional media does not. And it's hard for traditional media guys to go, okay, I see where that is. Like, it's just hard because with your broadcast or your print, like it's hard to see where these guys who have, they have 250,000 followers or 4.5 million or whatever it is. Yeah. Like they might be reaching more than the.
I akin them to like Google ads.
Yeah,
they're like, it's like buying Google ads.
And see, that's a good way to look at
it. That's how I look at it.
But there was contention there for a while, and it's like, oh my gosh, like guys, like. Yeah, they provide something that you're not. It's okay if we branch out.
We can be different. We can coexist.
Exactly, but there's some contention there. But.
Well, and especially when one of our KPIs this year was making sure that we were taking care of the print side, because it's because the social and the digital is always in our faces all the time. We do have a tendency to look that way, but there is a large portion of the firearms marketplace that it probably hears Gun Talk and gets Gun Digest, and that's it. Yep. And so we wanted to make sure that we're kind of spread across there and we're hitting all parts of the market. And two, like, there's different things that those places are good at and some that aren't. But I will say on the influencer side, it is tough because it's like with people who aren't used to it, you go, wait, this person is the whole brand.
Yeah.
This one individual person is their whole thing.
One guy doing it. Like, he just hold on a second. How's that work? Yeah. And there is a place for those folks, and they they're dang good at what they do.
Absolutely.
I would
we've
say
got to meet some awesome ones.
Yeah,
we've
got
to
some
meet
some really good ones that are phenomenal at what they do, just because they're vibrant. They've got a different look on it than, the traditional pubs or traditional media might have, which is great because they're more the end user, because these guys didn't grow into this. They like kind of, I just like guns. They just like guns.
And I think people trust them because I know they're getting an honest take, because a lot of these influencers, they're just, people send them product, but they're not getting paid a, ton of money to, like, a lot of these influencers are just getting the product. And if they like it, they talk about it. And if they don't, they don't talk about it.
Like, no.
Yeah. A lot of influencers, that's what they do. So when you're getting a product review from somebody like that, you can usually, for the most part, trust that it's an honest product review. So, and that's what we love. We love, we have a great team of influencers that really like our products and use them, and they want to talk about them. And we love that. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as we wrap up here, KJ, where this is how we normally close the show. Where can people learn a little bit more about you and about Gun Talk? How can they find you?
Really, guntalk.com really is kind of that's our website. That'll direct them to FPD and Guns and Gear and our newsletter, which I don't think a lot of people know. We've got a pretty substantial list of newsletter, and it goes out every day. You're getting new content every day.
Shout out to Gary, who is supposed to be here.
Oh yeah, he should be here, but he's got the what.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But we said we'd give him a shout out. So
yeah, I guess that can be a shout out. But no, we have a phenomenal team. You guys do. We do. Ryan kind of leads it all, and then we've got Matt Johnson and Gary Killingsworth. They kind of work remotely for us. Gary does all the website.
Yes.
We're trying to get those guys more into it, and we've got a lot of big things coming up for Gun Talk. I don't want to spill the beans too much.
I'll keep it a secret.
Yeah, but that's really they're gonna see some giant things in 2022.
2022 Gun Talk. Yeah. It's gonna be exciting.
But our editors that are on staff, Michael Davis and Benjamin Cannell, those guys, they're actually in the room with me. But I want to give them a special shout out because any content that you see that comes out of Gun Talk, they have a hand in it, and they really knock it out of the park because they turn it in quick and they try to do their best to make me look good, and Ryan,
which is a tough job.
Oh my gosh, it's impossible.
I believe it.
They have to cut out so much stuff.
They're nodding right now. I'll tell everyone they're nodding.
The love in this room is just you could cut it with a knife.
But we've got a great marketing team too. We've got Sarah on our staff and Jamie on our staff that they do a phenomenal job too behind the scenes, and they are a little bit more behind the scenes, and they keep us all straight. So, but no, go to guntalk.com and they can figure out where to go from there.
Yeah, Gun Talk Media on Instagram.
Yeah, Gun Talk Media.
Or you can follow KJ himself.
Flat Brim KJ.
Flat Brim KJ. He does not have his typical flat brim,
and I gotta watch.
Normally he does.
I try to count him one before he leaves.
I try to count how many flat brims that I've got, and I think I'm sitting around 30 or 40.
Yeah,
so something like that.
Well, we're gonna add one. So
I hope so.
We will have all the links in our show notes this week. As always, you could go to faxonfirearms.com/blog. Click on episode 59 for all the links and everything that KJ talked about today, and we'll see how this publishes because it's a twofer.
It's
going
to
be awesome, but I think you'll enjoy it. And then also. Check out next season. There's going to be the episode featuring Faxon Firearms and most of what they're hitting today. So if you haven't subscribed, signed up for notifications for them, make sure you do that because you're going to get to see even more behind the scenes stuff with the Faxon team here and KJ and the guys at Gun Talk.
It'll be great.
All right. Well, thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we will see you for episode 60.
Hi, and welcome to the Faxon blog and podcast.